Electric Cafe.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. This video review is on a reissue, on a recent reissue. Originally it was pressed in 1999, and the record's called Desire by the Desire EP by Tiny Elvis. Tiny Elvis was two gentlemen by the name of Phil Channel and Wayne McCann, and in middle to 2023, Matt Sully, who runs Cosmos Cities, decided to reissue it. What he did was he took off one of the three tracks and then got a couple of key remixers to remix the tracks. And I first got wind of this because I was working with John Beltran at the time, and Matt Sully, I believe, I was already actually aware of his label, and which is a fantastic independent label, and definitely check them out. I'll put a link in the bottom so you can check them out and check out some of their music. But they do a fantastic job. Matt does a fantastic job in the compilations and the music they've released, and also fantastic artwork on a lot of the releases. This was more of a 12-inch, so they didn't necessarily kind of kept it more of a house record feel and kind of a more of a raw dance track. But normally on their EPs, on their compilations, they got some and releases, they got some great artwork on there. But Matt Sully from Cosmos Cities contacted me. I was working with John Beltran at the time, and he was hoping that he could get John to remix one of the tracks, and we were able to make that happen. But also Leo and Bushwhacker. Bushwhacker from Leo and Bushwhacker is also on here remixing, and also Max in the Worlds was Max in the World is on here as well, remixing a track. So three really strong producers remixing these tracks definitely makes for a a well-rounded review. And of course, I was gonna say something else, but I'll save that for when the track comes. But yeah, we're gonna review each track, listen to each track together, and then I'll review each track, then review the overall EP. It's been a couple. I've probably heard this EP, probably in full a couple times, but I've definitely played this track out a couple times in the past year and a half since I've had the record. I wanted to do this review just to support Matt Sully and his Cosmos Cities records, and I happened to have the record near me because I was playing it, and I decided, why not, let's do a review. So I contacted him and asked him if I could get back the digital tracks so I could put them on the YouTube video here and share them with you, and also support his channel. I mean, support his label and share his music as well. So yeah, we're gonna get on to the first track, which is called Desire, which is taken from the name of the EP, Desire EP. All right, so that was the original version of Desire. Right around, wow, it's just a 9 minute track. Solid house, solid mix of house and techno. Um, Good beat, good chord build for sure. The melodic part is definitely the hook, and then the main melody comes over the top of it, and they balance really well together, and that becomes kind of like the ever evolving peak of the track. Um, Especially when that melody comes in around 320 and they balance together. It's really a nice atmospheric, definitely sort of a peak time track. The vocal is a nice addition as well. It kind of keeps the house feel of the track rooted in house, and so I think it's a really good track. It's kind of the track that you would want to listen to in a club. It's funny back in the late '90s and early 2000s how many tracks were like 8, 9, 10 minutes long. That was kind of like the normal back then. It seems like, and so this track is certainly in that vein. And um, I feel like it's a little bit ahead of the time in some ways, where like with the layering of the two melodies. That this specifically the first melody that kind of comes in is very different than you hear on a lot of techno. And I wouldn't say it sounds dated, but it does sound very 90s in a good way. I really like the track though. It's you just can't beat it. I mean, I'm just kind of a sucker for big melodies like that and just atmospheric tracks like that and a solid consistent rhythm, and it stays in the sweet spot and not too much goes out. It drops out a little bit. The ending is pretty cool. Kind of a lot of echo effects and kind of drowning out the sounds and kind of fading out. It was a nice kind of ending as well. But I really like the track a lot. I got a 7.5 stars out of 10. Really good track. So now we're gonna check out the Bushwhacker remix of it. Oh, I was gonna say Bushwhacker is a name that you know we first heard in the middle '90s on End Records, which if anybody remembers Leo and Bushwhacker, they were one of the first uh, electronic artists to really kind of be known as a tech house act or producer, and because they were on End Recordings, which was Mr. C's label, I followed that label a lot back in those days, and even more importantly was Plink Plonk Records, which Mr. C at the time was probably my favorite DJ and one of my favorite DJs in like 93, 94. And he started Plink Plonk Records a couple years after he left the Shaman, and of course Mr. C's that's what he's most known for is the Shaman. But for those that like techno and tech house and his work at the club called the End and his influence in tech house, Mr. C's importance in tech house, and Bushwhacker's important in the genre, in what I feel is the true sound of tech house, how it really began, which this is a great example of the original tech house. It was very um, still very atmospheric and almost blended house and techno in almost a trance way. I mean, it's a very melodic way, and sometimes it had like They were more dramatic than I would say most houses, and I'd say more melodic than a lot of um, maybe house was, and maybe a little bit more groovy than maybe a little bit more groove in the beat than techno is. So that was kind of like the perfect balance of tech house. You had like the best of both worlds, and that track we just heard was a great example of the original sound of tech house, in my opinion, which started roughly in like '95 and kind of changed around like 2001, in my opinion. But yeah, we're gonna check out the Bushwhacker remix now. All right, so that was the Bushwhacker remix of Desire. This one's track is a little bit over 7 minutes. This one feels like it's going to start out a little bit more housey. The melody almost sounds like an organ in this one, and then as the track really progresses, I think the rhythm is a little bit more house than the original. Where the original I felt like was a perfect balance. This one's a touch more housey, but then it really, as the track goes on, because of the just the ever evolving chords and melody, it almost feels like a dub version of the original track, and just has a nice gentle pace, gentle build, couple stops and starts, and then I think it was like around 520 or 525 or so that that really underneath melody was a nice addition as well. I like the original a little bit more, but this is a nice alternative version where if you heard the original and then you heard this version, you would think of that track. It does feel like a perfect alternative dub version of it. I think maybe just I'm not scoring it as high as the original. I just feel like the original is a little bit more unique, the sounds of the melody, and maybe a little bit more intense, maybe a little bit more, not really intense, but I feel like it builds a little bit more. Obviously, the dub version is going to be a little bit more subliminal, and that's why it is a really good alternative version, to the original. But I just feel like I like the original a little bit more, and but still, this is a very strong track. It's right on the. I got it right on the edge of 6 3/4 and 7, and I settled on 6 3/4. Really good track, really strong. Good remix for sure. A lot of nice little melody bits in there, but they're ever so evolving and just minor, and it's a really nice laid out track, and the nice key subtle changes that are really nice in it. So yeah, we're gonna go to track three, which is called "How's the Music." This is the other track on there, and this is the original version. All right, so that was the original version of How's the Music. Track's a little bit over 9 minutes. Um, it definitely has like a kind of a druggy, slowed down, deep groove to it. House music. Um, it's kind of balanced. The melody, the unique kind of sound is kind of balanced with a sort of New York style house organ from the early '90s that you've heard on so many tracks. Kind of has that doo doo, like that's such a classic house uh, organ sound from the early '90s, which you can. There's so many tracks that have that, and it's really nice. I've always loved that track. I kind of when I hear that sound, I think of New York house music, and I really like the strings in here too, and it really it's just ebbs and flows and more echo and the melodies kind of crescendo and then sort of fade out and it kind of makes me wonder if it was inspired by Josh Wink's 1994 track called "How's the Music." Um, Although it doesn't have like a vocal sample like the Josh Wink track. Like I wonder if it's inspired by that because that was like kind of an iconic song just a couple years before this. There'd be no way for anybody in house and techno to not know that track at the time and to call something "How's the Music." It was just such a huge track for Josh Wink. I wonder if this track was in sort of response to that or in honor of that, because it kind of has the same feel, just a little bit more housey, and maybe that's why the house is spelled differently than house. How's the music, or house the music. But yeah, really cool track. I got it right at the bottom of very good with a 7 star. I still like Desire, the original track, a little bit more than this. Um, this is, in some respect, this is as good of a track in some ways. I just like the Desire a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more my go-to if I was to play this track compared to that track. I think that one's a little bit more tech house like I like, but this one in the right in the right frame of mind, of the right part of a set, like deep into it towards the end of the set of a DJ mix. This would be a really good track. Just has a light, really long sort of ebb and flow in conclusion, and um, nothing really gets out of the line, and nothing is cheesy or anything like that. Just a solid, consistent rhythm and just the ever flowing chord work and the melodies and stuff. Just kind of it becomes intoxicating after a while, and that's what I like about like techno and house music and just how things evolve over minutes, and if you're patient enough, you get rewarded in the end, and you hear a track like this, which doesn't do too much. It's hard to give this track an 8 or a 9 when it actually doesn't do that much. But in some respects, probably if to some people it might be a 5 or a 6. But when you hear it and it becomes so addictive and entrancing and sort of envelops you, and you just get immersed in the track, and you just put yourself on the dance floor, and that type of moment on the floor where just all the lights are off, and you're just you know just enthralled with the music that's going on and just so deep in it, and that's kind of the essence of house music to me, and this does a lot of that, and that's why a lot of mid to late '90s house music kind of gets into more of the minimal and adds a little bit more techno, and that's when I really started to like house music a lot. Like I really like ambient house in the early '90s, but when it got a little bit more tribal and probably more tracky, and I'm not a huge fan of the big house diva vocals that was sort of going on in like '92 to '95. When it got a little more stripped down like this and sort of mixed with techno, it was more towards my speed, and this really kind of takes me back to like 1997, '98, '99, and yeah, I give it 7 out of 10 stars. Really good track. So now we're going to go on to the remix of it, which is Max in the World, his remix called the Floating Heart Mix. So let's check out that one.
really important. People fill their minds with all these stupid things, you know? To keep themselves from thinking about, what's really important.
All right, that was Max in the World's floating heart mix of How's the Music. In many ways, this remix brings the track into 2023 when the remix was made. Uh, the chords are really nice. The hi hat is really key to pushing the track energy through multiple times during the track, and I really like that. It really adds along with the snare, it adds a good um, up tempo kind of more techier side to the track than more the laid back original track. This one's just like melody overload. Like it, not only do you have the chords, but then it adds another melody, and you're kind of like, okay, well that's where it's gonna go because the other one was kind of that's what the other track did. It had chords and then it had melody over the top, and you figure that's really it. And then it adds another melody sort of accent, and then another melody over top, and it's just overloaded in all the good ways. It's just awesome track. It's he runs a really strong label. I think it's called out of New York City, Max in the World. I think it's called Still Art or something like that. Still something. Still World. Anyways, I can't remember what it's called, but he does some really good. He's done a few EPs himself. I think three, and I really like those. His work on those as well. And this track's really nice, really nice. It's like a lesson in how to do melodies and techno music and house music. It's just building upon melody after melody, and each one is a little bit maybe like an octave higher than the other one, and really just takes it to really a really beautiful atmospheric direction. I just really love the track. It's kind of the track that you want to play again and really look forward to how it kind of built up and got to that point. And it's definitely a screaming classic to me. Future classic. And I have it 8 out of 10 stars. My favorite track on the EP. Yeah, really really good stuff. Really like that melody. How can you not like those melodies? I mean, those are just awesome. So we're gonna go into the last track, which actually isn't on the record. It's a digital only remix by Placid Angles, aka John Beltran out of Detroit, the legendary producer. At the time, I was working with him, with John as his project manager back in 20, I guess it was 2022, 2023, and a couple other years in there for like, I guess maybe like 4 or 5 years. And I was working with him on a lot of his back catalog and getting him some remix jobs and stuff like that, and sort of helping him place his music and work on contracts and some live gigs and stuff like that. And um, this I was already a fan of Cosmos Cities at the time, coincidentally, and I'm not sure if Matt contacted me and he was interested. Maybe he saw that on Facebook that I was with John, and and we struck up a conversation, and he asked me. I'm pretty sure he asked me if John could remix it, and so we made that happen. And uh, Placid Angles is one of John Beltram's most special um, names that he records under. He definitely has he records under India, of course. He records under his own name, and there's a few other ones as well. But Placid Angles is really a special a special name he only uses for tracks that he feels goes under that name. And generally, if it's been a while since I heard this remix, I remember at the time it's going to bring back a lot of memories listening to this track, because I haven't heard it since I submitted it to Matt and at the time. And I got a chance to work with John for a few years, and I had some really special moments with his music, and there was two specific ones that were really special. And we got his Indio album. We John asked Derek May if he could reissue that, and because at the time, it was back in 1999, it was on Transmat Records, and so Derek agreed, and I was able to ask um, a friend that owns his own label in Spain, and ended up reissuing it, and they redid the artwork and did a great job on it, and that was kind of special to see that kind of finally get to vinyl and be a small part of that. And then also, one of the other things that was really special was getting ERP, aka Jared Hansen, to remix one of John Beltran's track. Those are two special memories that I'll have with working with John through the years. And me and John are still good friends. We talk a lot, and I'm gonna have him on the channel in the next probably a couple weeks and just kind of catch up with him and interview him at the same time. But yeah, let's check out his throwback mix of How's the Music. It's been a few years since I've heard this, so it'll be interesting again. All right, that was Placid Angels throwback mix of How's the Music. Wow, I could see how this was tough to leave off the record. The other mix was really strong, and this one's almost as equally as strong. This one in the kind of an old school way. I like the throwback mix kind of name because it does feel like an older remix of a track. There's nice deepness on here, nice build. For the most part, it gets right into the meat of the track of the sounds pretty fairly quickly. There's not too much of a long build. Um, the key too is the ebbs and flows and everything's kind of flowing and sort of changing volumes a little bit and kind of rising and dropping I think John does a good job of using the original sounds in a different and creative way. So especially like the piano kind of stabs and some of the percussion, excuse me, and just the melody bits. It kind of uses them in different parts and a little earlier in the track than the original or the other remix as well. The percussion is really good for the ups and downs too. It really gives it a nice flow and picks up the pace and helps kind of drop it back and really lots of good melody work on here. I really like this track a lot as well. I give it 7.25 stars. It's my third favorite track on here in total, and a really good remix. And unfortunately, it was just digital only, but I'll have the link below if you'd like to purchase this EP or purchase any of these tracks digitally. There's also some vinyl for sale as well in that link if you're interested. I don't know about. Uh, I would imagine there's some copies on Discogs too that are local if you're in America, because I know if you order from the website, the that I'll give you that label's in France, so it'd be costly on shipping. But yeah, so the overall on the album is 36.5 stars divided by five, which is a 73, which is a very good record for sure. I give it an extra point, 74 out of 100. Very good. This is a really solid EP, and hats off to Matt Sully and Cosmos Cities for knowing about this track because I never knew about it till I heard this EP. And that's the great thing about reissue labels is they can kind of bring something that was for the most part sort of forgotten and sort of bring it to the forefront and put it in the front of record stores for new buyers to find and learn about the history of it. And it's really important for reissue labels and people like Matt to it's really helpful for people like that are willing to do the research and find the people and get approval hopefully and work all that out with the older producers and bring it back out and commit to using their own money to finance and because they believe in it. They believe in the really track and they feel like people will really enjoy it if they find it again. And hopefully, doing this video on it helps shed some more light on this really really strong EP, really strong reissue. To know that this is the original songs are 26 years old. They have a nice timelessness to them, and these remixers did a great job in making alternative versions for it. Some did an old school mix, some brought it into the new, some did a dub version. So just some well-rounded remixes as well. Really, really fine EP, and glad to have gotten a copy from Matt. So thank you, Matt. Yeah, Tiny Elvis Desire EP came out a year and a half ago, middle of 2023. I gave it a 74 out of 100. Very good record. All right, thanks so much. I'm curious, what are your thoughts below on the tracks? Which one was your favorite?
Fabric